Welcome to Friday Main Event High School Football Preview Show. This is the 6A edition. We've gone through classes 1 through 5. Lee Teat, Mike Molder here, my buddy Lee Teat alongside as usual. Lee, we've about gotten over the hill, brother. We got 5 down, 1 to go, but this is the big boys.
That's right. We've talked a lot of football so far and got a little more to go.
Ran a little over on a couple of classifications.
It's all good. We like to talk about it.
We like to talk about it, man. There's a lot of teams. We've covered a lot of teams. I think over 300 teams now. Ooh. After we get done with this classification, and we've made a few mistakes. I've already been hearing about it, mispronunciations of names and whatnot, but we're doing as good a job as we can.
Well, it's content, man.
It's content and it's
quality of the content, so just bear with us.
And, of course, you and I have been on the radio in recent past, and now we're in front of a camera, Lee, so I'm sure
that's a little different.
That's a little different, isn't it? But, yeah, we've made a lot of mistakes, but we hope you guys have enjoyed what we've put out so far. Lee, we'll go ahead and jump into Class 6A. And, Lee, we always start all these shows off kind of recapping what happened last year. And this was another class where you and I picked Maryville as our preseason #1 team. Maryville marched through the brackets, postseason brackets, with the exception of Oakland, really unscathed. They had a pretty easy run there.
Yeah, man, they just boat raced everybody until the semifinals.
Right, and Region 2 with Bradley Central, Lee, was another team that looked really good. So Region 2 kind of dominated that side, didn't it?
Yes, they did. Bradley Central coming in was 8-2. And knocked off a real good Dobbins Bennett team, who was a 1 seed out of Region 1 in the second round.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, they would match up with that for the second time with Maryville. Maryville wins that game 45-10. That sets up a battle, or actually what turned out to be a rematch, because Maryville and Oakland did play each other during the regular season, and that game is slated in Maryville this year, second week. So we expected that game to come down to, you know, those two teams in the semifinals, and it worked out that way, and it was one heck of a ball game. It would come down toward the end of the game, I believe it was, Lee, and Maryville kicks a field goal right there in the closing minutes of the game and wins it 31-28.
Right, and there was a little bit of controversy surrounding that. Some people thought there was some movement. It is what it is, though. You can't leave it up to the refs.
It depends. Yeah, I agree, and it depends on which side of that game. If you were sitting on the Maryville side, there was no infraction.
Right.
It was crazy to even insinuate there was. Of course, Oakland side, yeah, man, we got robbed. So,
right.
I think the good thing is, Lee, there's a real, you know, obviously they're going to get to play again in the second week of the season, and in all likelihood, they'll see each other again, I think, in the postseason.
I think so, too.
So Maryville marches on into the finals, familiar territory for them, kind of like Alcoa. You always pencil Maryville in to get there most seasons. But the bottom side of the bracket, a lot of teams, we didn't really know who to expect coming out of there. I think Whitehaven was a team that a lot of people looked at preseason. Cane Ridge, I knew they would be good, but I was really shocked at how good they were last year.
Well, I had a question going into the playoffs with Region 5 versus Region 6, because I thought Region 6 was a little tougher top to bottom.
Right, with Ravenwood, Independent,
Brentwood,
good ball team.
And, man, Cane Ridge just marches along, gets into the quarterfinals against Ravenwood. That was a tight ball game, but really just kind of marched through.
They did. Knocked Centennial off in the first round lead. They knocked Brentwood off second round. I think that big Ravenwood matchup, 21-18, and that's a good, strong possibility we see that game again this year.
I think so. I think we will see it again.
And then, like you said, Lee, we have Whitehaven coming out of the bottom side of that quad. Cordova was a team everybody kind of expected to do well. Germantown, a team that actually beat Whitehaven during the regular season to claim that Region 8, knocked out by White Station in the second round.
Well, the biggest upset I don't think anybody saw was in round 1, Memphis Central over Cordova 41-40. That kind of blew my bracket.
Yep.
You know, even though I did have Whitehaven climbing on through, that blew that portion of my bracket up. But Whitehaven goes, into the second round and just blows Memphis Central off the field.
And that set up a Cane Ridge Whitehaven semifinal 14-7. Cane Ridge was the winner, and as we know now, go to Cookeville, and Cookeville, Maryville as expected. Just too tough, Lee. 42-7 was the final there, and we'll hear Eddie Woods talk about that a little bit later on. But I think Cane Ridge, first time in the big game,
yes.
the big atmosphere, just wasn't playing very loose.
Well, and Dylan Hopkins, the quarterback for Maryville, in the first game against Oakland, he was out hurt last year, and then he goes into the championship, goes into the playoffs. Kid's been there so many times,
yes.
and you could tell it on the field that
Absolutely.
night. He was just spot on.
So Maryville wins the 2017 championship. Derek Hunt, first-year head coach, and wins the title in his first year as a head coach. That's kind of the way the 2017 season went. Lee, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the region preview show, the portion of the show where we cover all the regions. And Region 1 last year, Lee Teat, was a crazy, crazy region. And Lee, the reason why I say that, heading into Week 10, of course, there's 11. TSSAA changed the terminology. They don't like Week 0, so now you have Week 1 through Week 11. So entering the next to last season, what we were calling Week 10, you had 3 teams tied at the top of Region 1 with 1 loss. It was Farragut, Dobbins, Bennett, Science Hill. And then in Week 10, the game that still has me scratching my head was Jefferson County, a team that hadn't won a game all season, and they go up against Science Hill with 1 loss. Of course, Stacy Carter's team looked really good. They wound up getting upset 31-14. I still don't know what happened. I don't know if Science Hill had players out. I don't know, but crazy.
Crazy. That's all you can say. That whole region, and you know what? Could very well shake out that way this year. They're pretty even again.
It could, and then you had Farragut. They were in the driver's seat there for a while. Their only loss was Dobbins Bennett. They wound up getting beat by Hardin Valley, Lee Teat, by 1 point there in Week 11. So I really don't know what to expect out of this region. Like you mentioned earlier, Dobbins Bennett did win this region. They got a new coach, Graham Clark, who was there forever, man. He's
been there a long time.
Been there a long time, several years, 20-plus years.
25.
He steps aside. Joey Christian, who was a 15-year assistant under Graham Clark, takes over there for the Indians. 8-4 last season, 5-1 in region play. They got knocked out by Bradley Central over in Region 2. Very strong Region 2,
right.
33-27 in that second round. They've got 5 kids back on offense, Lee, 3 on defense.
The player that sticks out, obviously, to me is Lyndon Redwine and Cade Sawyers. Sawyers has 9 offers right now. He's huge, 6'4", about 295,
pretty
offensive lineman.
Yep.
And then Lyndon Redwine, their quarterback, man, threw for like 2,300 yards, and he's about 6'5". Hey, Coach Christian's got a lot to look forward to.
Don't got a lot of numbers coming back, but they got a lot of quality at the right places.
That's right.
Farragut, the Admirals, as we mentioned, Eddie Courtney's team. Of course, they won that 5A title, Lee, in 2016 over Independence. I think they actually trailed in that game by 21 in the first half.
Unbelievable comeback.
Crazy comeback. I mean, everything had to go perfect for them. The quarterback for Indy struggled in the second half, made a lot of mistakes. Farragut took advantage of that, got their state title there in 2016. 2017, they finished 9-3. 4-2 in region play. They did fall to Maryville there in the second round. They've got 5 starters back on both sides of the ball, Lee.
Yep, Jaden Gibbs, 6'3", 185, wide out, number 40 recruiting in the state.
Good-looking ball player.
Good-looking ball player. So Farragut, looking at through their roster, they got plenty of athletes, and I fully expect them to contend too.
They got Kyle Carter back at running back. They got Gavin Wilkinson, the quarterback. Isaiah Gibbs, another running back. So skill position is very strong again for the Admirals this year. Moving down Science Hill and Stacy Carter, and we talked about Stacy Carter all last season. Lee, we were really impressed with what he's been able to do there for the Hilltoppers. 130-42 overall. He's 67 and 27 in his 8 years there at Science Hill. They finished 7-4, and that upset that we mentioned there to Jefferson County really kind of toppled their season and knocked them down to a 3rd seed, which meant they had to travel in the first round. They wound up losing a good close game to Bradley Central, 41-34. Now, had they won that Jefferson County team, they would have been, home
that's right,
for the first round, Lee. And I think, who knows what happens? They would have matched up against a weaker Region 2 team, potentially Cleveland, and I think they would have had a lot better chance to advance had that happened.
Well, that Week 10 31-14 loss to Jefferson County. The more I think about it, they didn't have a bye until the last week.
Yeah, that hurt them. 10 straight games.
You think they were trying to maybe sit some kids and get them a couple of weeks? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know. I wish I had done a little investigating into that, Lee, but whenever I was researching for this show, that's when that kind of jumped out at me. I, quite frankly, didn't even remember that situation last season, but yeah, we definitely need to find out exactly what revolved around that really unexpected loss. 7 starters back on offense, Lee, 5 on defense.
Well, Science Hill, man, Coach Carter, plenty of athletes again. Drew Morrison, running back to senior. A lot of senior offensive linemen. Chris Thomas, the tailback there at senior, and his junior quarterback, and A.J. Stewart.
Yeah, I think Stacy Carter's team is going to be strong again this year. Lee, looking on down in that region, Bearden, the Bulldogs, led by Morgan Shinlever, 6-5, 3-3. They lost to Maryville in the first round, 28-0. But they beat Hardin Valley 42-3, Lee, and that advanced them into the playoffs. But if you look at Hardin Valley, what a run they had. I really thought they were going to make the playoffs, but losing that game to Bearden, which was really, looking at all the region results, it didn't add up. There was a lot of games in that region that just, us over here in Middle Tennessee didn't really make any sense.
We're scratching our head the whole time.
Right.
Like the teams you think are going to win, they're especially late.
Right.
You're like, wow, what's going on,
But Bearden was 6 starters back on offense, 5 on defense with Colin Ironside, the quarterback. He's now a junior. Caleb Wilkinson, a good-looking running back. And, of course, Samson Moss, a tight end. Bearden's going to be pretty good again this year.
I think so. I think they're definitely going to contend for that 4 spot. I think the top 3 teams we just mentioned, I think any scenario 1 through 3 could happen with them.
Right.
I think Bearden and Hardin Valley are going to be competing for the 4 spot. Speaking of Hardin Valley, they got 7 returning on each side of the ball.
And I like them. They've got Grayson Vaughn back at quarterback. Of course, they do lose Aaron Dykes, their leading rusher last year, had over 1,000 yards. That'll be a hard spot to fill, but a lot of linemen back, Lee, including Dawson Hardesty, the big offensive lineman. So you always like that. And then, as I mentioned, Grayson Vaughn back at quarterback. 7 starters, again, as you said, back on both sides of the ball. They may have been the best 5-5 team in the state last season, Lee. They lost to Oak Ridge in the opener by 1, lost to West the very next week by 3 points. So you got you're 0-2 with a combined score of 4 points that you got beat by. And then they fell to Science Hill by 6. So they were right there all year. They easily could have been 2nd or 3rd in this region had the ball bounced their way a couple of times.
Right, then they turn around and beat Farragut by 1.
Beat Farragut, exactly, and Farragut's a very good program. So Hardin Valley was 7 back on both sides of the ball. You got to keep an eye on them this year.
I think so.
Morristown West finished 3-7, Lee 1-5 in region play. 6 starters back on offense, 5 on defense. A lot of talent back on that team as well.
Yeah, Matthew Solansky's a big-time linebacker of theirs, and Jackson Cole at wide receiver. Dallas Dawson at offensive line. That looked like they got several senior offensive linemen. We'll see how Morristown West does.
I don't think there's any place for them to go, to be honest with you. Alvin Sanders there in his first year, tough act to follow there, taking over that West program after Lamar Brown left to go to Knoxville West. And, of course, we know how much success Coach Brown had there.
Right.
Alvin Sanders his squad drops off 3-7 last year. 1-5. Their only region win was to last place Jefferson County, led by Spencer Riley. And I still would love to know what the heck happened in that Science Hill game. They were 5-5, week out of region, allowed them to get to 5-5. But they've got 7 starters back, Lee, on offense, 6 on defense.
I'd like to see Jefferson County get back to their storied tradition, man. Back in the day, Jefferson County, actually, they had a guy there named Todd Collins who was the National Gatorade Player of the Year, who played for the Patriots for a while. Man, this guy was crazy good, but they've just kind of fallen off as of late. But I'd like to see Coach Riley get Jefferson County back
I like
up there
Spencer
on the
Riley.
mountain.
I was a big fan of his when he played for the Vols. Region 2, Lee, Maryville, the team everybody expects to be good again this year. You mentioned Dylan Hopkins is out. They've got a couple of really good juniors that are competing for that job. They've been splitting time in the preseason games. All the scrimmages have been splitting the time pretty evenly. Ashton Maples and Cade Chambers still haven't determined who's going to be the starter on opening day yet. I talked to some sources over in Maryville today, so that's going to be interesting who lines up behind center for the Rebels this year.
Well, Dylan Hopkins are big shoes to fill, but the good thing about whoever the quarterback is, they got T. Hodge to hand the ball to.
He's a stud, man.
He's amazing.
He's very, very good tailback. I believe he's a younger brother of Isaiah Cobb. Is that correct?
That's correct. I believe that's right. Yeah. Half brother, maybe.
I think so. That. But again, the question mark. Of course, they've got David Kimball back, A.J. Davis, Graham Shelby, and of course Luke Walker, the junior, on that defensive line. So they got a lot of talent back. I think another name, Garrett Everett. Seth Orrin. Yeah, we saw him a lot last year. The linebacker, really big force on that defensive side of the ball for the Rebels. Maryville's going to be right there again.
I think so. I think their defense is going to be fine. It's just going to be finding offensive production to go with Hodge.
And their only loss last year was 17-14 when they came down to Oakland. Of course, Dylan Hopkins was not in that game. So, I'll be interested to see what Coach Hunt's squad does this year, Lee. I don't expect them to be a lot of drop-off, despite the fact that they've only got 3 back on offense and 6 on defense. Right. They just reload.
That's right.
They don't rebuild.
They grow them.
They grow them. Bradley Central, Damon Floyd's team, lead 10-3 last season, 5-1 in the region. They did fall to Maryville in that rematch, 45-10 in the quarterfinals. So again, Region 2 dominates Region 1 throughout the postseason, and I think the Bears will be good again this year. Leave it. They only got 2 starters back on both sides of the ball.
Right. I look for good things out of Dylan Standifer. And Parker Johnson is a D-line and a running back. He's a solid kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sailor Clark's one guy that Dylan's going to be trying to throw the ball to. So I think Bradley Central, as of right now, I know Scott Cummins might have a little something for him at Cleveland, but I got Bradley Central sitting pretty strong at 2 in that region.
Yeah, I'm not quite as strong on that as you are, Lee, because you just mentioned I like Cleveland. I expected Coach Cummings coming over from West. I expected him to whoop that Cleveland team into shape pretty quick. That split back veer is a kind of a hard offense to learn, and you don't see that very much at the higher levels.
Right.
So he's of course he run that at West and won a state title with that against Giles County there.
Well, they were fast that year too.
They were fast, and but I mean, Lee, if you look, they lost to Bradley by 6. They lost to Maryville in region play 59-38. You got to be impressed with the fact that they put 38 up on Maryville. So I think Cleveland's going to be pretty good this year.
I think so. They definitely going to be able to score points.
Yep.
Coach Cummins can get the ball in the end zone, and defensively we. See what they got. Wilson Benefield's a big defensive end for them, senior. Yeah, I don't know, man. You think they're going to compete for 2?
I think they are going to compete for 2. Matter of fact, I'd probably give them the edge right now, too.
Really?
Ottawa lead, new head coach, Mac Bryan steps aside. I think he actually took a job out of state, maybe North Carolina, I'm thinking, not 100% sure. Scott Chandler, who was the head coach in Georgia, coached under Bill Snyder, coached under Bob Stoops at the collegiate level, so he's got a really good coaching pedigree, served as special teams coach for the Owls last year, 5-6, 3-3 in region play. The bad thing is, Lee, they only got 3 starters back on offense and 2 on defense.
Did they scrimmage Marshall County?
Don't know the answer to that, Lee. I'm not sure about that.
I thought they might have scrimmaged them this year. So I think it was Ottawa. Mm-hmm. But anyways, Kyle Sanford, quarterback, is going to be really good, and Sincere Quinn, tailback in the backfield. I think he's a really good ball player.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously Coach Chandler knows what he's doing. It's just that region is very tough.
Yeah, it is. It'd be interesting to see how they do under new leadership there for the Owls. Heritage Mountaineers, 3-7, 2-4. Lee, they returned 3 starters back on both sides of the ball. Max Bowers, the wide receiver, was really the only returning impact player that was turned in by Coach Hammondtree to his survey to our buddy Donovan Stewart at TennesseeHighSchoolFootball.com.
Apparently, he plays quarterback and wide receiver. He must be pretty good if he can throw it to himself.
Yeah, there you go. So we don't really know a whole lot about Heritage, so I don't know what the expectations are there for the Mountaineers. McMinn County, Cherokees, Bo Cagle, 3-7, 1-5 last year. He's 65-54 in 12 years, so he got a pretty good record there at McMinn County. Another situation where he doesn't have a lot coming back though, Lee. 2 on offense, 3 on defense.
Yeah, I think his key players: Cam Johnson, DB running back; Noah Brown's a DB. He's a sophomore. Jalen Hunt, another sophomore DB. Looks like he's got some young impact players, so maybe, hey, bright side's coming up. I
think this was the only region in the state, Lee, if you look down that region, where there's 7 teams, and every team, their only loss was to teams above them. In other words, there was no upsets. You look down the region,
right,
and you can see it was 6-0, 5-1, 4-2, 3-3, 2-4, 1-5, and
0-6.
I've never seen that before, where there was not a single upset anywhere in that region.
Right.
But the guy on the bottom, unfortunately, was my good buddy, Coach Philip Shadowins. Some people pronounce it Shadowins. I've always pronounced it Shadowins, and that's the way he told me to say it. So
Coach Shad.
I'm sticking with it. Yeah, we'll just shorten it down to Coach Shad. But, he had a ton of success over here in Middle Tennessee at Smyrna, Blackman, Middle Tennessee Christian. Excuse me. He's taken over that William Blount program, Lee, but I don't know if any team in Blount County outside of Maryville and Alcoa is ever going to have any success.
Man, it's just such a tough gig. Coach Shadowins, I call him Coach Shad. Coach Shad, he hadn't forgot how to coach. The guy was so successful over here. When he had Sonny Gray at Smyrna, they won a couple titles.
Yes,
I think.
They did.
Man, he's got a sophomore quarterback coming in at Trey Clemmer. 6 returners on each side of the ball. But where do you move up?
I don't know. I don't see them getting into the playoffs, League. There's too many good teams ahead of them in the playoffs. Maybe they leapfrog McMinn County and possibly Heritage. I don't know that they can contend with Ottawa, but, I still see them in that 5, 6, 7 spot again this year.
I do too.
All right, Lee, that's regions 1 and 2. We're going to go ahead and take our first break right here, give you guys a break from Lee and I. Of course, we ran over on this break like we always do. Sorry about that. But, Lee, we're going to go ahead and let our listeners hear Coach Derek Hunt in his first championship there at Maryville as a head coach. A great moment for him and for Maryville. So we'll let you guys hear that now. Mike Molder, Friday Main Event. Coach Hunt, you've won these as a player, you've won them as assistant coach, now as a head coach. What does it mean? What's the difference?
Well, it's there's not much different, honestly. The feeling's still pretty good, and but it's a testament to the people around me. This is a dream come true for me. Like you said, I've been Maryville through and through, and just a dream come true.
Coach, you guys got stalled out on the first drive. Kane Ridge takes the ball. They're moving the ball down the field. Bryson has a big, huge interception, pick 6, 7 yards. How big was that play?
That was huge. Almost like we stole one from them, and got one back, so to speak. So, to have that and kind of get the monkey off your back a little bit, after our first drive, turnover. And then,
seems like it brought the team back.
I don't think there's any question. Got the momentum back on our side and kept it rolling from there.
Talk a bit about Dylan Hopkins. What's he meant to you, and what's his future hold?
Special kid. He when he moved to Maryville, he was a 7th grader, and he just so happened to be in my 7th grade math class. And knew he was a pretty good athlete then. Never would have dreamed he'd have been leading us to state championships, but. Incredible kid, and I'm so excited for his future. Looking like he's going to be at UAB, and what a great program they got right now. Got it rolling back quick, so I'm really excited for him, but really proud of him.
I heard you mention Coach Quarles earlier. Your first championship game. Any advice from him for you this week?
He was quiet this week, and I'm sure it was on purpose. Because we talk 2 or 3 times a week, pretty consistently. But he's just encouraging me, ask me if I need anything, I owe a lot to him. I learned so much from him, and and he gave me a lot of advice, when the transition happened. And the biggest thing he said was, you got to make it yours, and so that was the tough part, was what do you change, what do you not change, and try to be myself. And early on, I wasn't a very good football coach. I struggled, calling offense and managing the game at the same time, two things that I hadn't done before.
Right.
And so, but I learned a lot and leaned on my assistant coaches, and what a great staff we have. Unbelievable job.
Congratulations, Coach. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, Lee Teat, that was Maryville head coach Derek Hunt following that first victory of his last year. I love that kid. I say kid, I've got kids that are old enough to be. But I think he's probably about the same age as my oldest kid, so I'm going to say kid because I've earned the right to do that. But, man, I love him. He's a great young man, great ambassador for the game.
Well, Maryville, the main thing, Maryville folks love him. He was sitting waiting in the wings, and actually they had some guys that were quite a bit older on their staff, and he got the nod, and everybody stayed with him. And
the thing about it, Lee, if you remember, he told us last year during the interview he didn't really want it, but it was the other kids on the staff that convinced him to take it, and they said they were behind him. And, he mentioned in that interview he made a lot of mistakes, but he learned a lot. And coming up under George Quarles, he was definitely the right guy for the job.
That's right.
All right, Lee, let's go ahead and head on in because, like I said, man, we run way over. And, again, folks, I apologize. That's a good thing about this, though. You can hit the pause button.
Oh, yeah.
Go eat your dinner and come back and listen to the rest of it later. Let's do it tomorrow if that's what you want to do. So we're going to run over because we talk football. That's just part of it. We apologize, but we're not going to – probably not going to change it. We'll try to condense it a little more, but I don't know if I don't see it happening. Lee, we're ready for the big boy region here in Middle Tennessee. And Williamson County folks may argue that a little bit, but Rutherford County, the teams over in Murfreesboro kind of have the reputation for being the toughest region in the state. And most times you can't really argue that fact, I don't believe.
I think talent for talent. Rutherford County and Shelby County, player for player. I think Rutherford County and Shelby County have the most talent across the board.
Now, I'm not going to totally agree with that because I would go Williamson County with Ravenwood, with Independence. I think maybe not talent-wise, but when you add in coaching.
Yeah, I'm just talking about sheer athleticism.
I'll go with you on athleticism.
I think it's Rutherford County and probably Shelby or Shelby-Rutherford.
Right. I won't argue that from a talent standpoint, but I think there's some really good coaches over in Williamson County. A lot of money over there, so it kind of dictates that you're going to have the cream of the crop as far as coaching goes.
Right, that's right.
All right, Lee, let's talk Region 3, Oakland High School, the Patriots, Kevin Creasy. Boy, oh boy, I love this team. I've seen them a couple of times in the spring, and then we saw them again last week. Tons of talent on this team, Lee, and if he wasn't already good enough with all those returning starters, he's got some kids that have transferred in and made the team even better.
I don't see a weakness in anything they do.
I don't either, Lee, and we thought that they would have some issues getting away from that two-quarterback system, and I'm fixed to shoot myself because I didn't bring my notes with number 7 in the scrimmage. Was it Stevenson? Stevenson, a good, really good-looking kid, and we thought, this was going to be Lionel's job to lose this year with him the only returning quarterback. But I don't know. That kid looked really good the other night.
Man. Well, of course, obviously, he's got Woody Washington, I think probably best DB in the state. He's the number 4 recruit in the state. Joseph Anderson, big-time defensive end, 6'4", number 7 recruit, South Carolina commit.
Mm-hmm.
Xavier Myers, 32 touchdowns last year, transfer in from Nashville Christian. Mookie Wilson, who we saw, big-time physical.
Myers looked really good the other night. You just mentioned
Myers
him. Man,
looked real good.
I'll tell you on the defensive side of the ball, Lee, who I like, besides obviously Woody Washington, I like Aaron Moore, the junior defensive end. Good gracious, that kid's
they're good everywhere.
He led the team in, I think he led the team in sacks, forced fumble. There's 3 or 4 different categories he led the team in as a sophomore last year.
Well,
Lee.
okay, Tacoy Randolph, D lineman last year, 92 tackles, 16 for loss. Christian Cantrell had 7 sacks, 100 tackles, 16 for loss. We didn't even talk about them yet.
Hadn't even talked about them. Well, heck, Brad Cowan told me he's been out there 15 years, Lee, and he said he's never seen a defense like this.
Okay, Garrett Taylor. They lose Aaron Sears. Garrett Taylor steps right up. The other night we were over at that scrimmage. He kicks one up onto the.
He's kicking it through the back of the end zone on kickoff.
Yeah, kicked it out of the back of the end zone. Kicked one down there onto their field house or whatever that is, concession stand.
Yeah. There's no weakness. There's no weakness on this team.
Offensive lineman Ethan Ellis.
Are we putting pressure on Coach Creasy?
He
don't feel it, does
Ethan Ellis, offensive lineman. He has 9 offers.
All right.
We didn't even talked about him yet.
They're just eat it, folks. They're eat up.
Go watch them. If any of y'all ever get a chance and you're in this area on a Friday night, you need to go check out an Oakland Patriot football game.
And if it isn't bad enough, Lee, they got so much talent. They got Kevin Creasy, won 3 state titles in 7 years at Trousdale County. Now he's 39-4 in 3 years. He's been to the semifinals twice, been to the finals once. Odds-on favorite, I think, for most people to take a state title this year. Good ball team, good coaching.
So.
Lee Cookville won with the other home team last year. Jimmy Mater's squad finished up second in Region 3. Only got 1 starter back on both sides of the ball. How's the Cavaliers going to do?
Well, I've talked to Coach Maynard a little bit. It is a serious rebuilding year. He likes his young guys. The one thing that we all know about Coach Maynard, they're going to be very well coached. Very few times are you ever going to beat Coach Maynard on X's and O's. You got to beat him with Jims and Joes. I just don't think he has the Jims and Joes this year to compete for a 1, 2, or a 3 spot.
Right. I agree with you on that. You mentioned in a previous show Adam Goolsby transfers over from Gordonsville. Lee, that should help out a little bit.
Yeah, I think a possibility he may play some quarterback. I'm not sure yet because I know Blaine Espinoza going into the spring was the main guy up there.
Right, senior.
And then he really, a lot of people up there like Cooper Norrod, and Jaden McAllister at running back. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, like you said, he's a good coach. If anybody's going to get it done, it'll be Jimmy Maynard. Lee Blackman is another team a lot of people are talking about. A lot of people have them in preseason top 5. I think Donovan had them up as high as 2 or 3 in his top 10. They've 9-3 last season, 4-2. David Watson is out. Kit Hartsfield is in. He was a defensive coordinator the last 3 seasons there. 5 starters back on offense, 4 on defense, Lee, but they've got the same situation here. They've got some transfers that have come in that are going to really help them out.
Well, obviously everybody talks about Trey Knox, number 5 recruit in the state, big-time wideout, 6'4", 205. Adonis Ote, I believe, is going to take snaps this year.
Is that right? I have not heard that.
I think he's going to be the quarterback. He's also the cornerback, highly recruited as a DB.
Number 12 recruit in the state, I think.
Mycelius Elder, wide receiver, Cleveland transfer comes in. I expect a lot out of him. Tamika Napier, McGavock transfer, ran all over people last year from McGavock. So Coach Hartsfield.
And they've got Jordan Brown back at running back.
Right.
He jumped in and took some starting snaps last year. So, yeah.
Offensive line, I think, is going to be solid. I think defensively they're going to be solid. Man.
I think
just a lot of talent.
Yeah, Blackman's going to be good. I think they move up into that 2nd spot, and they'll be competitive with Oakland. I don't think they can get past Oakland, but they'll be competitive with them. Our buddy Will Krasky over at Riverdale, Lee, he lost a lot. He lost Mr. Football Savion Davis. He lost his fullback Troy Hudson. Jerick Campbell, very fast. I think he was a 100-meter champion in the state last year.
Him or Michael Scruggs, one of those 2.
maybe it's I couldn't remember. But at any rate, a rebuilding year for the Warriors, you think?
Offensively, it could be. We'll see. I know that Taylor Yancey is quarterback.
Back at quarterback,
is
correct.
Back at quarterback.
He took over about mid-season when the starter went down.
Right, and then Gaston Haney is a defensive guy they're looking forward to. Jackson Bryant. Warren Gibbs, a big-time D-tackle. So I don't think he's going to necessarily be rebuilding. Maybe for Riverdale it might be rebuild.
Yeah, there you go. Lee Siegel, the Stars under 2nd-year coach Mike Copley. He was 4-6 in his first season there. He came down from Louisville Ballard he does have coaching experience over at Centennial. So 4-6, probably not what they want over there at Siegel, but being over there in Rutherford County, man, it's just, it's a fight for kids, it's a fight for players, and 3 back on offense, 5 on defense. And when I say it's a fight for players, his top kid, Joseph Anderson, like you mentioned, transfers over to Oakland, moves and transfers over there. So it's hard to keep kids, unless you're the top 1 or 2 teams there, it's hard to keep them at home.
Well, and the thing, too, maybe a lot of the viewers right here don't understand is Siegel and Oakland literally are only about 3 or 4 miles apart. One's on the north side of 231, one's on the east side, one's on the west side. And then here's Riverdale right down the road and Blackman straight up the street. All these schools are pretty close together, and all these kids know each other. And if, hey, Oakland's looking pretty good, these kids are talking. So hopefully Coach Copley can I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
Tucker Sears, I like the quarterback. Warren Stovall's a good DB they got over there.
Yep.
But I don't know, man.
Well, moving over here to Coffee County, Lee, our good friend Ryan Sikowski. We love having Coach Ski on the show with us. He's a great guy, man. I'm actually friends with him on Facebook. We cut up with each other all the time. Awesome guy. I think what it's going to help him, Lee, as much as anything, he gave up the AD duties this year. He's had some family issues. He needed to get more, time available in his schedule for family. But I think having that burden of being the AD off of him is going to allow him to devote a little more time to the football program. 3-7 last year, 1-5. Of course, they lose Alante Taylor now playing up in Knoxville, so that's big shoes to fill right there.
Right. I'm interested to see this sophomore quarterback he's got.
Matthew Pittman. Yeah, I don't know a lot about him either, Lee, but
trial by fire in this region as a sophomore.
It's a tough region to play in, and I can guarantee the folks over at Manchester would love to see these these regions remapped to where they're not over in Rutherford County where they got at least a fighting chance. But until that happens, I can't see Coffee County, along with Warren County, the other team at the bottom of this region, Tom Moore's squad, 3-7 last year, 0-6 in region play. They've got 5 starters back on both sides of the ball. I don't see either one of these 2 teams moving up any in this region.
I don't see it either. It's kind of, like you said, it's unfortunate, but that's the way the cards fell, and that's what you got to deal with.
Yeah. Region 4, Lee, was swept by Region 3 in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Mount Juliet was upset by the 4-seed Riverdale 20-14. A lot of people thought the Golden Bears thought it was their year. They entered the playoffs 10-0, Lee, and they I think, 7 shutouts in a row?
I picked that game.
To start, yeah, you did.
I had to rib you on that a little.
I think I had the Golden Bears winning that one, didn't I? I thought that linebacker group they had would get it done, Lee. But they've got some good players back. They got 5 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. Reggie Grimes is listed as an athlete, 6'5", 210. He's the number 4 recruit, and then they got Malik Brown, a wide receiver. Number 19 recruit. Of course, we're talking about the 2020 class.
That's
Both these kids are juniors. So a lot of talent coming back for the Golden Bears.
Another junior to look out for is Zach Delfendahl, the offensive lineman. His brother is at MTSU as a lineman.
That's right.
Really good player. And then, of course, Alvin Mixon's quarterback there is a senior. Trey Perry has no shortage of athletes over there.
They always got some big linemen, too, over there.
Yes, they're very well coached. It seems like all their offensive linemen are always going to college to play ball somewhere.
Right. So Mount Juliet, again, Region 4 winner last year. Hendersonville, I think, will compete with them this year. Lee Teat, Coach Hatfield steps down as head coach. James Beasley, the defensive coordinator since 2009, takes over that commando squad. 6-5 last year, 3-2. Got a lot of starters back this year, Lee.
It's going to be interesting to see. Coach Hatfield's been there so long, man. It's going to be interesting to see Hendersonville without him on the sidelines.
It is.
He's coaching now at Tech. That's what he's doing. He's an assistant coach up at Tech.
Okay.
The good thing for Coach Beasley, like you said, he's got 9 returning starters on defense. I don't think they're going to have to change anything on offense. I think they're going to stay just the same. So fully expect them to have a good year.
And with 9 starters back on that defensive side, of course, he was a defensive coordinator the last 8 years there. So he's very familiar with what they're doing. And Hendersonville, always a solid program. I think they compete with Mount Juliet for the region title this year.
Really?
I do.
Ooh.
They've looked good in some scrimmages. I've been getting a little feedback on them. They've looked good.
They're always physical. That's one thing you can bank on.
Yeah. Rossview lead the Hawks. Todd Hood's squad 6-5, 3-2 in region play last year. They were knocked out by again. This is another team that got knocked out first round. Cookville got them 21-13 in the first round. Only 2 starters back on offense, 3 on defense.
Yeah. Caden Miller's a wide receiver, senior. Nick Harbor, quarterback's a senior. Connor Huff, offensive lineman's a senior. Datavius Brown's a linebacker, the senior. So all the info that we have on their good skill guys, good players coming in, seem like they got a lot of seniors. That should help.
Yeah, anytime you get a senior leading squad, you got a chance to compete. You know those kids, despite the fact they may not have been starters last year, you know they got to see the field a lot. So I think Rossville will be okay this year. Again, 6-5 last year, so I think they're going to be a playoff team this year. And then we get down, Lee, to your good buddy Chuck Gentry. What an amazing job Coach Gentry did with that program there at Lebanon.
Man, that was such a good hire for them, and I was so happy for Coach Gentry. Like I said, I've known him for all my life, basically.
Well, Lee, they were 1-10 the year before he came in.
And I don't think they won winless in 2014.
2014.
They had won like 1 or 2 games.
Yes.
He comes in, he gets a 5-6. They actually get a first-round playoff game. Of course, they met up with the Oakland,
right.
But, hey, he's got 7 players returning on offense and 6 on defense. And, obviously, the man to talk about over there right now is Zon Logue. And I heard this week that he's probably or has committed to Georgia.
He has. He announced it on Twitter.
Everybody has him down right now at 6'6". Or 6'4", about 245, but he's actually put on some weight. I was talking to Chuck. He's 6'6", 285.
Goodness.
He's put on 40 pounds over there.
Can't you get Chuck to get him to go orange and white instead of going?
Well, he ought to, because one of hang on, what's his? Justin Harrell's one of Coach Gentry's assistants, Tennessee Vol.
Right.
But Zion chose Georgia, but the good for the kid.
Work on that, Coach Gentry. We need him up in Knoxville. Absolutely.
Chandler Cricht, expect big things out of him as a quarterback. He is I wouldn't consider him a true quarterback, but man, is he an athlete. And he can spin it, but boy, he's elusive and can get after it. So Breeze Copus, another one. I'm going to go out on a limb this year and say Coach Gentry competes for the 2 spot.
To the 2 spot. I can't argue with you. I had them at 3. I thought I had them jumping Rossview. I think Hendersonville and Mount Juliet probably just a notch above Lee. I mean, you can't. Rome wasn't built in a day. I mean,
he did beat Hendersonville last year.
He did. You're right. That's correct. I had forgotten that, Lee. But like I said, he came into a 1-10 program. And Hendersonville, I don't think, was quite up to snuff in terms of what Coach Hatfield's teams are usually at last year. Of course, they finished 6-5. I got Lebanon at 3, but I wouldn't be shocked if they did move into the 2 spot.
I think they got a good chance at getting to the 2 spot and getting a home playoff.
The main thing, the most important thing, Lee Teat, if you're a Lebanon Devils fan, is the Wildcats go down. Wilson Central, they don't like Wilson Central. If they win that game, they kind of get a pass on anything else.
I think you're right. And Coach Dedman, he's been there 8 years.
Yeah, 8 years.
I think he doesn't get the players that he used to get anymore. I think they're kind of migrating back towards Lebanon.
Right.
Man, I don't see them climbing much out of the hole right now.
7 starters back on offense, 3 on defense. I think they lost to Lebanon 19-7 last year, Lee, so it wasn't like it was a huge blowout. I think the teams are still pretty close.
Yeah, they are.
And with 7 starters back on offense, that may wind up, because that being a county rivalry, that may wind up being a really good game this year.
Oh, there'll definitely be some snot flying.
Station Camp, Lee, the last team in this region, 1-9, 0-5, and I think the biggest problem there is they're losing a lot of kids to surrounding schools. Do you think that's true?
Oh yeah, you're right. Stuck dead in the middle between Beach, Hendersonville, Gallatin, and their Station Camp right in the middle.
Josh Malone is probably the last really big name athlete they've had that stuck it out there for 4 years.
So I don't know about Coach Hollingsworth this year. I think he'll improve on a 1 and 9.
Right, but I don't see any region wins.
I don't see him climbing out of the hole.
4-4 starters back. Blaine Forte, the quarterback, free safety senior, he's back along with Nylan Alexander, wide receiver. So yeah, I agree, Lee. I don't think Station Cap moves out of the cellar this year. Cane Ridge is the headliner in Region 5. Our good buddy Eddie Woods, Lee, and Eddie Woods is one of the best coaches in the state. I'll go ahead and make that statement right now.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it.
He's
every year since he's been at everywhere he's ever been, but every year since he's been at Cane Ridge, what have they done?
Gotten better. Same thing he did at Melrose. He improved that program, rebuilt that program, and then came over to Cane Ridge. I think he's entering his 4th year. He's 33-6 in 3 years there at Cane Ridge, Lee, and man, state title game last year, state runner-up. So Cane Ridge isn't that old a program, so that's really
right.
Really impressive.
Well, he's got a lot of athletes, and one that we really like, I think, is probably, in my opinion, the most underrated running back in the state is Devon Starling.
Looks good, man. We saw him in that scrimmage against Oakland the other night.
He's good.
I think he may have gained a step speed-wise, Lee, because he's able to get that corner. Not that he wasn't able to last year, but you're going up against some of the best athletes in the state on that Oakland Patriot squad, and he was running around them, making some good gains, and he looks like he's put some muscle on as well.
Him and Jacquez Norman, I think, is going to be good. Or is good. Transfer to come in from Milan. Corey Andrews, our quarterback, we saw him. He looks like he's bulked up a little bit. He threw some good balls in the scrimmage against Oakland, and he threw to a guy that you put on a highlight reel for us, Quentin Barnes.
Yes, Quentin Barnes looked really good, number 7 there, the wide receiver. You mentioned Jacquez Norman, Lee. I think he's going to be a bigger impact on defense. We saw him at the safety position running down a couple of Oakland players, including Myers, on 2 or 3 different occasions, making really good technique tackles. Very, very impressed with him on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, stable's full for Coach Woods. I fully expect him to make a real deep run, if not get there again. Yeah,
I agree with you. Smyrna, Matt Williams, our good buddy Matt Williams, always going to be a contender. Another really good coach, one of the best coaches around, in my opinion. 3 starters back on defense, on offense, 7 on defense. DeAndre Caldwell, the wide receiver, 6 foot, 175 pounds. Lee, he's the number 44 ranked recruit. You got Blake Watkins is listed as an athlete, 5'11", number 50 recruit. And then looking down at the 2020 class, he's got a really good junior in Dallas Walker. He's the 13th listed recruit at defensive end there in the 2020 class.
Yep, and I'll tell you somebody else who's exciting to watch is Tevin Ship. If Alex Bannister, the quarterback, if he can get the ball in the air and Tevin Ship can get under it or catch it, it's exciting to watch him.
He's going to make a play.
He's good.
Yeah, so I think Smyrna will compete with Cane Ridge. I don't know that there's going to be enough improvement there to be a serious threat to Cane Ridge. They're just so strong. McGavick finished 3rd in that region. They were beat by Brentwood's 33-7 there in the first round. 5-6, Jay Gore's squad was 3-3 in region play. Lee, 2 starters back on offense, 4 on defense.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. Coach Gore's 44, 45, and 8 years over there. McGavick is one of those schools where sometimes, even though it's 6A, you'll get a good class, bad class, good class, bad class, which is odd for 6A, but they do that
being
sometimes.
There in Davidson County.
Yeah, and then but now he does have some players. Lamar Childress, big-time linebacker. R.J. Hills is fullback. Shamar Kirk, Tyler Brown, Michael Pignon, Clarence Crawford. So he's got players.
I don't know that he's going to be able to move up into the top 2 spots. Laverne pulled a big upset at the very end of the season and wound up making the playoffs, knocking Stewart's Creek out. They went on and lost to Ravenwood 44-14 there in the first round. Stanton Stevens, man, he struggled there at Laverne. Lee, I know he's had success at other programs, but he just hasn't found any success there at Laverne. 29-55 for a Rutherford County team.
He's had plenty of players.
Been there 8 years. Is there any shock to you that he hadn't had any heat on him there?
Yeah, there is, because how many kids has he had there at Laverne that went on to play big-time football? One went to Oregon, one went to Tennessee.
Yeah, that's kind of my point. I'm surprised that you don't hear him as being on the hot seat very much, despite the fact the amount of talent they've had there at Laverne.
Yeah, like I said, did they slip into the 4 spot this year?
I don't think so, Lee. They've got 6 starters back on offense, 3 on defense, but they're notorious for underachieving. So I don't see, anything changing there. But what's on their side, though, Lee, is Stewart's Creek is really down.
They're terrible.
I'm hearing that David Martin's squad is going to be.
They're terrible.
Going to be bad. Well, I'm not going to say terrible.
I will.
I'm not going to be that blunt about it.
They're terrible.
But
I live right up the street.
Yeah, I don't. So Laverne may get that 4 seed based on the fact that the 3 teams, Nashville, Overton, Antioch, and of course Stewart's Creek below them, not expected to be much better.
And that's not a knock on Coach Martin.
No,
at all.
You couldn't make a knock
on
him.
No, because that guy's 231 and 128. He's in 8 or 9 state title appearances at Good Pasture.
Right.
He didn't forget how to coach.
Right.
But they're just not good.
It's tough for them, I think, being in their location to get talent.
Yeah, it's not good.
It's just not good.
But one bright side, they got a little sophomore, I think, Alex Crink, who might get some playing time this year as a sophomore at quarterback. He's a pretty good little athlete.
And that's what he needs to do. If you see that you're going to struggle a season, let's go ahead and play your young kids and get some experience.
Let's do it.
And I'm sure David Martin isn't smart enough to understand that. Nashville, Overton, Lee, the Bobcat, Stephen Williams squad, 1-9, 1-5. Do got a lot of kids returning starters, 7 on offense, 8 on defense. C.J. Martin, a wide receiver, defensive end, and Samari Burns, a couple of headliners there for that team.
Yes, Nashville, Overton. It's right on the Williamson County line. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever been over there or not, but it is right on the line. They get a lot of those kids that are right there in Brentwood area, but some parts of Brentwood is in Davidson County.
Right.
Those kids go to Nashville, Overton. I'd like to see Overton get back to the Nick Koutras days, to when they were a very good program, but I don't see it happening.
Antioch, Mike had 1-9 in his first year at Antioch. He was assistant at Stone Memorial under our buddy Mark Wattenbarger. I don't know what's wrong with that Antioch program. They've been pretty bad program for several years now, at least 5 or 6 years since they've had any kind of success.
I don't know that. I don't know the answer for them.
I don't either. 6 starters back on both sides of the ball. Lee, Malik Nance is a very versatile player, senior for them. He'll be one of the leaders, I think, for that team. But again, I don't think they make any improvement there in Region 5. All right, Lee. Well, that's Regions 3, 4, and 5. We're going to take a break right now. We want to let you hear the interview we did with head coach Eddie Woods at Cane Ridge following that runner-up finish in Cookeville. And Lee, again, we really think a lot of Coach Woods. I think he's going to be there again this year. But here's what he had to say following that game.
Mike Molder, Friday main event here. Coach, tough one, buddy.
Yeah, don't want to go out like that, but when you make mistakes, our first time being here kind of showed. When you make mistakes like that, you make turnovers, man, that's what happened, especially against a great program like Maryville.
And, Coach, you guys got to stop there to start the game. You're moving the ball real well. Mm-hmm. I felt like the interception right there really killed momentum. It was a big play to start the game.
It did. And, it's just one of those things that happen. We felt like we had a good play on. The kids sat on it, and we didn't fight back to the ball. But it is what it is. We'll build from it, and, we'll move on from it.
Talk about Devon Starling. He's had a huge year for you guys. He's very instrumental in you guys getting here. How about him?
Great kid. He's resilient. He'll come back and work harder to try to improve on this year. But I tell you what, I'm proud of him and all of him and all our guys to get to this point.
Tough road to get here. You went through Ravenwood, you went through Whitehaven, you went through Brentwood. You got to be happy with everything, all things said.
All things considered, I am very happy about guys. Getting here, you want to win it, but I have to be humble. I have to be thankful that I got here, that we got here, because there's some coaches that coach 30 years and never get here. Some kids that play 4 years of high school and never get here. So that's something to be proud of. Obviously, you want to win, but I'll be humble about it, and I'm very proud of what we did this year.
I talked to your AD just now. He said that won't be your last trip here.
No, it won't. And that's the approach we're going to take every year, each and every year in the off season. We'll let our guys get a couple of weeks off. We'll come back and max out, and we'll just try to do it again from year to year.
Appreciate you letting us be a part of the season, Coach.
All right, thanks a lot.
All right, Lee, that was Cane Ridge head coach Eddie Woods, one of the great ones, man. He's very passionate about that team, and he expects them to be back this year, Lee, as you heard.
He should expect them to be back. But I tell you what I like about Coach Woods, if you talk to his assistant coaches, the AD, you know, they rolled out the carpet for us last year in a ball game.
Sure did.
He's got
Coach Reese, the
Coach
AD.
Reese got a lot of good support.
He does, and they were bragging on him. You know, I was talking to them behind the scenes the other night to scrimmage, and all of them are 100% on board with him. They're really happy with Coach Eddie Woods. Lee, we're ready for Region 6. Region 6, I mentioned earlier, the Williamson County region. I think that's going to be a really good region again this year. Ravenwood, I think, is going to be, you know, crazy good with Brian Garcia, the junior quarterback, leading the way. 10-3 last year, 4-1. They did fall to Cane Ridge in the quarterfinals, Lee, but that was 21-18, a really good ball game.
Well, that's true, and they got 6 guys coming back on offense, 4 on defense, and as you alluded to, Garcia, you know, he didn't even start the season last year for them. It ends up going for around 2,000 yards, throwing 16 touchdowns. Hey, Ravenwood's going to be good.
They're going to be really good, and going on down, Lee, Brentwood, a team that lost a lot of players, Ron Crawford, but I've been getting word that they've looked really good in some scrimmages they've had. I think they I want to say Hendersonville, but not 100% sure that's who it was. But at any rate, I've heard they've looked really good in scrimmages here in the preseason. They've only got 1 starter back on offense. They've got 5 back on defense. What's your expectations for this Bruins team?
I think they're going to be very good, and I think Coach Crawford is the reason. That guy, every time he left Brentwood and he come back. When he left Brentwood, they were winning.
Fell apart, didn't
they? They fell apart. He come back. Here they go. They're 10-2 last year. Lose in the second round to Cane Ridge, which is a eventual state finalist. You know.
Right.
I think they should be real excited about Chase Bishop.
He's a good-looking junior, Lee. I think number 15 recruit in the state in that 2020 class. So, yeah, if I can find somebody to get the ball to them, of course, they're going to be breaking in a new quarterback this year. But Brentwood, as you mentioned, Ron Crawford, he's always going to have a good squad. Doesn't matter what he's got coming back. Independence as a team is a little intriguing to me. Lee, Scott Blade, another great coach. He's 9 times out of 10, he's going to have better X's and O's than you are. It's just whether he's got the players or not. You kind of mentioned that with Jimmy Maynard earlier. T.J. Sheffield, of course, they lose Scurry. He transferred to Maplewood. He was another big force opposite the line of scrimmage from T.J. Sheffield. I'll be kind of anxious to see how that impacts things.
Well, Ethan Cash, too, coming over from Summit, man, that's a big pickup. And then
but what are they going to do with him, Lee? I mean, Nathan Cisco, he's already got a college commitment, the quarterback from last year. Who gets the ball right here?
I think Cisco will get the ball, but I think Ethan Cash will be on the field.
I agree. I think you're correct.
I think that's how they'll handle that. And hey, listen, Coach Blade's not 100. He's 122 and 36 overall. He's won 50 games in 5 years. Been to the dance.
Well, he won a title. He was there 2 years ago. He beat George Quarles when he was at Hillsboro back in 2007. Broke the longest win streak George Quarles had as a head coach. Then we're talking about Scott Blade in 07.
Then he beats Sevier County that year, and their quarterback was Andrew Bunch. I went home and did a little research, and you know where he's at now? Nebraska.
I wondered because he had committed to Tennessee Tech initially, and then he backed out of that.
He's at Nebraska, and probably going to get some reps. So Coach Blade, he can coach them up. I fully expect Independence to be right back in the hunt again.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I will hear in their top 10 later, Lee. I really like Independence. Centennial, Matt Kreisky's team, he was adamant last year that they were going to be better this year. You know, he told us that in interviews. They were 4-7 last year. They did win the games they needed to win, 3-2 in region, which got them into that 4th seed. The Cougars, they were fortunate they got Ravenwood, I believe it was, Lee, in week 1 before Cisco started. They were able to knock Ravenwood off, so it'll be kind of
Garcia. Garcia.
Yeah, I don't know what I said. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, you said Cisco. He's at Independence.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
Sorry, man.
I appreciate you correcting me. I don't want to give any bad information. I'll have a mama
hollering. That's why I'm trying to help you.
Rant me on, berate me on Twitter. You mispronounced my kids now. Okay, sorry, ma'am. Anyway, I'm off topic here. Scott Blade, Independence. We got them in, and we were down to Centennial, and I'm all messed up now, Lee.
Sorry, man.
No, you need to point it out when I say the wrong kid. You definitely need to do that. But Jarrell Wilson at Centennial, the running back, I think he's going to be good this year. He had a good year for him last year. Jacob Spears, a big offensive lineman, senior. He plays both sides of the ball. He's going to be a leader, I think, for the guys up front. The Cougars will be in the hunt, I think.
They will be. That Jarrell Wilson, man, he is fun to watch.
He is. And Matt Kreisky's a very good coach. Came over from Forest Lee. I think he coached, I want to say he coached with Thomas McDaniel at Oakland. Does that sound right?
That's right.
I believe that's right. So he's got a good coaching pedigree. I think he actually spent some time at Henry County as well. He went to Henry County.
Played for Coach Counts.
Yeah, and Donnie Webb was there as well at the time, I believe. I think he actually played for Donnie Webb as an assistant there. But anyway, he's been around some good coaches, Lee, and he knows what he's doing. I think Centennial will be competitive. A team that I did get a chance to see in the preseason was Donnie Webb's Franklin Rebels, Lee, and I was really impressed with their squad up front. Far as I say up front, of course, Ray transferred. I don't know if you knew that or not. He transferred to Georgia.
Yep.
I guess he's going to has plans of playing down there, but he was a big loss. Of course, we're talking about Jake Ray, the younger of the Ray brothers. He transfers out. But the backfield looked good. The backfield looked really good. They scrimmaged Shelbyville down here. I went over and watched that scrimmage. Really impressed with that Rebel backfield.
Rashad Jenkins being one of those guys.
Yes.
Gabe Tyner's a linebacker coming in. Jack Ray not Jake Ray, but Jack Ray is another offensive lineman they got coming in. So it's going to be, I think, though, Mike, I think it's going to be tough for Coach Webb to get into that number 4 spot.
It will. They were 3-7 lead, 1-4 last year, and it's a very tough region, as we said at the top of the segment here. But who knows? You know, anything can happen over there. It just takes the ball bouncing around.
Right.
The teams are all pretty close, I guess is what I'm getting at. Dixon County, the Cougars 1-9, 0-5 last year. Got a lot of starters back, 8 starters on both sides of the ball, Lee, but I don't know. They weren't really contending in any games in this region. I don't know that they do any better this year.
I don't think they'll improve much in the region. I don't expect them to be 1-9 again.
Right. Okay. So moving on down, Lee, Cordova. We're going to try to run through this segment. We know we've run way over on these segments. We're going to try to speed it up a little bit. So I apologize for the West teams, but in all honesty, in all fairness, we know a lot less about these teams anyway. Cordova, Lee, a very good team, 8-3 last year, 4-0 in region play. They won that region 7. But they've only got 2 starters back on both sides of the ball this year.
Well, 2 starters they do have back are Matthew Bedford, who's a number 25 recruit in the state, Tariq Barnes, a linebacker, number 37 recruit transferred over from Memphis East.
He's a baller, too.
He's a baller.
He is a really solid ball player.
Cordova's got tons of athletes. The thing that's intriguing, like we talked about, is Memphis Central knocks them off in the first round.
And they got a new head coach, Lee, Marcus Wimberly, who won a state title there at Memphis East. So I like the change at head coach. So, you know, who knows? The Wolves may be in the hunt again this year. Wolves in the hunt. You like that?
Wolves in the hunt.
That was good, wasn't it?
What about the Tigers in the hunt?
The Tigers in the hunt. The Arlington Tigers, Adam Sykes team. Syke. I like that last name. 18-15 in 3 years there at Arlington. 7-4, 3-1, running that spread offense. They lost to White Station by 1 point, 29-28 lead in the first round. Got 5 starters back on both sides of the ball.
Yep, Kenneth Walker, the third. The running back, linebacker's a senior. Devin Chandler.
Probably a little bit better than second, I'd say, too, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Devin Chandler, the wide receiver. Calvin Robinson.
That's what he tells his dad, anyway.
And Rhodes Carson's the quarterback.
Collierville lead the Dragons. Mike O'Neill, 34 and 33 in 6 years, 6-5, 2-2 in the region. They were knocked out by Whitehaven, but they played Whitehaven close, 26-23 there in the first round. 4 starters back on both sides of the ball. How do you like the Dragons this year?
I still see them in the 2 or the 3 spot in that region. I like Justin Stonework at wide receiver and Jordan Henderson at free safety.
And Mitch Austin, quarterback there. So who knows? You know, they may wind up being competitive in this region. Houston Mustangs have a new coach, James Thomas, who was the defensive coordinator the last 14 years. Lee takes over as the head coach there. I don't know. They've got 9 starters back on offense. Mustangs may be pretty tough this year.
They'll definitely be vying for a spot in that region to get into the playoffs, I think. Matt Needham is a big senior offensive lineman there. Kip Franklin, offensive lineman senior. Jaron Allnut, offensive line senior. You know, kicking the dead horse again, but very experienced up front. So Houston could very well make a push for that 4 spot, 3 spot.
And then you got Bartlett, finished 5-5, 0-4 in region play. 7 starters back on both sides of the ball. Tim Haney, the head coach there, 122 and 89 overall, 8-13 in 2 seasons at Bartlett. He was the defensive coordinator at Bartlett. I don't know that Bartlett, the Panthers, do much improvement in this region, Lee. I would say not.
I don't think so either.
Region 8, Germantown, the Red Devils win that region. First time Whitehaven has lost a region title, and I don't know when.
Man, who knows how long.
It's been a long time, Lee. The Red Devils, Chris Smith, they've got 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. Of course, White Station upsets them in the second round last year, 17-14. But with Henry Costello back and also Michael Goodwin on that offensive line, a couple of good seniors along with Nick Ferry, you know, anytime you're solid up front, you got to like what team's got coming back.
Yeah, that's good for Ethan Payne, too. He's the QB down there as a senior. Marshall Ware, place kicker, the senior. I heard he's a very good kicker.
If he's listed as a returning starter, and at a kicker, he's got to be pretty good.
Yeah, I heard he's a very good kicker. And then B.J. Gardner's at running back.
Whitehaven, our buddy Rodney Salisbury at Whitehaven won the title back, I guess it's been 3 years now, Lee. No, it hadn't been that long. They beat Oakland a couple of years ago.
2 years ago.
2 years ago, right. The Tigers, 11-3, 2-1, Lee. And you talk about a team eat up with talent.
He signed 22 kids last year. And I think he's got, 20-something kids this year that's on the radar.
Yeah, they got offers already. I think practically every starter on this team has already got college offers. How many high school teams can you say that about? Kevon Mullins is number 13 recruit in the state. He transferred in. We mentioned that earlier from Memphis East. Devin Bodie, the wide receiver, he transfers in from Los Angeles. Everybody that wants to play at the next level, they know Rodney Salisbury is the guy over Memphis is going to get you on to the next level.
Well, he's got his own recruiting room at the school just for that. Lays out the film for the guys. There's somebody in there all the time, but just so many athletes in Shelby County. Melvin McBride, number 34 recruit. Cormonte Hamilton, tight end, number 28 recruit. Bryson Eason, Martavius French,
Melvin McBride. We could go on.
Keep on.
I mean, we're talking about seniors league. You look down at the junior class. They got Bryson Easton, a linebacker. He's the number 9 recruit in the state. You got Montavious French, a linebacker. He's the number 16. We're talking about the 2020 class. They are stacked, man. I mean,
Coach Salisbury, kudos to you, buddy.
He's a gamer, man. We know one thing. They're in the postseason already. 4 teams in this region, Lee Teat.
Yeah.
White Station, the Spartans, 5-8 last season, 1-2 in region play. They were knocked out by Whitehaven in that quarterfinals. 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense, Lee Teat.
Ray Curry, standout player down there, number 11 recruit in the state at offensive line, and I think a junior.
Just
right?
a junior, that's
I
correct.
That's right.
Yep. So Memphis Central rounds out that 4-team region. They've got Major Wright, who's came over. He spent 4 years at Raleigh, Egypt, had a very successful program there at Raleigh. He moves up in classifications now. He's going to take over that Memphis Central job. Memphis Central with 6 starters on offense, 5 on defense. And you know the red ink, you know the key players we put on each team, Lee, we put red ink around the ones that are highly recruited, and his team is eat up with them. You got Travis Hopper, 6'2", 260. He's the number 23 recruit in the state. He's committed to Memphis Central. Darren Turner, the junior wide receiver, number 3 recruit in the state, committed to LSU. You got Eric Gregory, the number 13 recruit. He left.
He left and went to IMG.
Right. I had that ready.
Which IMG only has the top 50 players in the whole country.
Right. So that's a good situation in my opinion. I can see why Major Wright would.
Well, yeah. I mean, he wouldn't leave Raleigh, Egypt, unless he thought Memphis Central had something coming.
Right. And so I think Memphis Central will contend for the second spot in that region with Germantown.
Be close.
Now, I know you're a big Germantown guy. But
I like Chris Smith.
Yeah, I think they'll be there. So anyway, Lee, that's our regions 1 through 8 rundown. And as always, we want to thank our good buddy Coach T. He sponsors these shows for us. Appreciate Coach T jumping on with us. That's a big shot in the arm for you and I.
Yes, it is.
To know that Jim Thompson backed us, and he's got the utmost faith that we're going to represent his website in a good way, or he wouldn't have signed on. He's a upstanding man, and you know, like I mentioned earlier, he's an ambassador for the game of high school football, soccer, baseball,
bass fishing.
Every sport is right there on Coach T. So
that's right.
We're going to take a minute, Lee, and we'll talk about Coach T, and we'll be back right after this.
Okay, folks, if you're watching this video, you're obviously a big high school football fan like us. When Lee and I started this channel up, one of the first guys we felt we needed to reach out to and try to join us in this venture was Jim Thompson. I know most of you guys know him as Coach T. Jim was a visionary. He knew back in 1998 the internet was going to continue to grow, and he started his website, CoachT.com, at that time. Now, his commitment to high school sports has provided one of the best sources for information and entertainment across the state when it's involving high school sports in general. I know I became a member back in 2007, and I'm closing in on 10,000 posts now on the website. So I strongly urge you guys to visit this website. Once you see what the website has to offer and you fall in love with it like I have, you're going to want to look at the Coach T Plus membership. That's only $24 a year, and if you break that down, I think it works out to 46 cents a week. I mean, you can't even get a pack of gum for that now. So a lot of things, a lot of advantages to being a Plus member. One, obviously, you lose the annoying pop-up ads. They're gone once you become a Plus member, and you get access to some restricted boards. Other non-paying members don't have access to these boards, so you got a lot more access to the website. One of my favorite features is you have the ability to edit and correct schedules. So if your high school team has a game incorrectly posted, has a score incorrectly posted, you're allowed as a Plus member to go in and correct that. So a lot of things about being a Plus member that you'll enjoy. So I strongly urge you to look into that. Lee and I, again, we love Coach T, and we appreciate everything that he does for high school sports.
All right, Lee, again, we wanted to say special thanks to Coach T. Appreciate CoachT.com signing on with us, and they'll be putting links up to all of our shows on their website. Not real sure where he's going to have that at yet, but again, just check CoachT.com out every week. You can also go to Friday Main Event. We'll have links posted there.
Right.
FridayMainEvent.com right here. So just look back at the video if you can't remember the website. We've got it on the sign here in all of our Friday Main Event preview shows. So that's a good way to remember, Lee. If you can remember the name of the show, you can find us.
Oh, yeah.
FridayMainEvent.com.
You can't forget Friday Main Event.
But again, CoachT.com is the website we're pushing right now because Coach T is our buddy, Jim Thompson, and he is in with us. So
that's right.
We appreciate everything Coach T does for high school sports and for the Friday Main Event. Lee, it's time for the Friday Main Event Class 6A Top 10. And last year we had Maryville, and Maryville got the ring. That's right. They've got the ring, baby. So the team that is at the top of the Friday Main Event, top 10, good odds are going to be there.
I think so.
And, Lee, we're going to start down at the bottom. We've got 4 teams just outside our top 10. We're going to start with White Station over in Region 8. Joe Riccone's team quarterfinal team last season. They got 7 starters back on offense, 6 on defense. I think, they're always strong in the playoffs. I believe, in all likelihood, the 3rd place team in Region 8 again this year. But Memphis Central, with a new head coach at Major Wright, may have a say in that. This game against them, I think, on October 26th, could be a good one. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. We'll see. That, like you said, it seems like once they get into the playoffs, they push and do very well.
Yeah, I agree.
That's why they're hovering.
But I do like Memphis Central. Matter of fact, I might just add them in this spot. That doesn't make much sense what I'm doing here, considering I'm promoting Memphis Central and I don't have them here. But anyway, Lee, they're a coin toss. We'll leave it like that. Hendersonville's another team. New head coach James Beasley, the defensive coordinator last year. Lee takes the legendary Coach Bruce Hatfield's spot on the sideline. Got a lot of starters back this year.
Big ball game on September the 14th with Lebanon. Lebanon upset them, I think, last year, and I think Coach Beasley's got that game circled.
Yeah, no doubt. That was definitely an upset. Nobody saw that coming except maybe you and Coach Gentry, but yeah, that'll be one that the Commandos will be looking forward to, no doubt. Riverdale, another team over in Region 3, Lee. We had them just outside of our top 10. Will Kreisky's Warriors. Down in numbers as far as starting returners, but there's always a lot of talent there on the sideline at Riverdale.
That's right. And last year, they got in the 2nd round and they got boat raced by Cookville. So they've got that on September the 28th. Coach Kreisky's got that circled.
Gary During and I called that regular season game, Lee, and that was probably the best game I've ever personally witnessed. It took a Riverdale Hail Mary in the closing minutes of that game. I think there was 7 seconds left in the game. Riverdale throws a Hail Mary and pulls it in and runs in the end zone.
Right.
And
I remember that.
We went crazy. That was an unbelievable game. So, yeah, I think that game against Cookville on September 28th will be a big game again this year for Riverdale. Smyrna, Lee, is the 4th team we've got just outside of our top 10. Again, they're in that tough region with Cane Ridge, but last year they lost to Independence 14-13 in the first round. They got 7 starters back on defense, Lee, so I think the defense will be strong again for the Bulldogs.
I think so, and Blake Watkins, man, he's fun to watch, and Tevin Ship, who we commented on earlier, he's very fun to watch. I think Coach Williams this year will focus on beating everybody else in the region but Cane Ridge. I don't think he can match up with them, but he can get a home playoff and make a little run that way.
So the McGavick game on October 26th, you and I agree, Lee. I think it's going to be a very critical game for the Smyrna Bulldogs if they want to host a game again this year in the first round. All right, Lee, let's go on to our top 10. And at number 10, we've got Stacy Carter's Science Hill Hilltoppers, 7 starters back on offense, 5 on defense, as we mentioned in the opening segment, Lee. Big shocker last year as they lost to Jefferson County, really kind of deterred their season. I think they were bound and determined to make a run to at least the 2nd, possibly the quarterfinals, had they not lost that game to Jefferson County, dropped down, went on the road, and lost to Bradley Central last year.
Right. I think going in this season, a game that Science Hill people got penciled in and be looking big time at is on September the 28th against Farragut.
Yeah, I agree with you. That will be a good matchup right there, and probably for region positioning, no doubt, possibly the region title on the line there. Lee, number 9, we got Independent, Scott Blade's crew, and again, they finished up 6-6 last year, kind of a down year, I think, for the Eagles in reference to the last 2 state title runs they made, but they've got some good players back, led by T.J. Sheffield, the wide receiver who committed to Notre Dame, and then they retracted the offer. I don't know if you was aware of that or not. He really wanted to play at Notre Dame.
That's unusual.
But, they apparently he took too long committing was what they had told him. And once he committed, they retracted the offer. So he's open. I'm saying go Vols. Go Vols. So, T.J. Sheffield, being a local guy, hopefully he'll consider UT. But I think Independence is going to be a good team this year.
I think so, and I tell you what, we've both talked to Coach Blade on several occasions, and I guarantee you Ravenwood beat him twice last year. You know that eated him all off season.
No doubt.
So October the 26th, that's going to be a big one.
Big one, yeah, and possibly region title on the line there. We'll be at Independence week 1, Lee, as we'll be over there for Oakland Independence in that opener for both of those guys. So interested to see how the Eagles look. Mount Juliet is our number 18, the Golden Bears. Lee Teat, 10-0 last year in the regular season, upset in the first round by Riverdale. I'm sure that's been a sore spot for Coach Perry during the entire offseason. So they're going to be ready to go, fired up, ready to go, try to prove that last season was no fluke. So I think the Golden Bears will be solid again this year and a region favorite for Region 4.
I think so. Of course, obviously with Reggie Grimes and Malik Bolin, you know, they should be in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Perry does a good job over there. He's got tons of athletes, like we said, and I think a big matchup for them is Hendersonville on October the 26th.
I agree, Lee. I think that should be a good one, and like we said, that in all likelihood will be for the region title this year, providing your buddy up there in Lebanon doesn't upset the boat any. Germantown, Lee Teat, the number 17, the Red Devils, Chris Smith. You know, they won the region last year, and then they kind of
well, that White Station team we just mentioned
got hot.
Got in the playoffs.
They got hot, right. And 6 starters back on offense, 7 on defense. I think the Red Devils will be good this year.
They're going to be good.
And like you mentioned, the White Station game on October the 5th, that'll probably be a big game. Of course, they're going to want a little bit of vengeance for that second round loss to White Station.
Right.
Germantown had their eyes on Cookeville last year with that. They were undefeated heading into that second round. Region champs, White Station knocks them off, and there's a lot of people that thought Germantown was going to.
After they beat Whitehaven,
thought that was a team to beat.
Germantown was the team to beat, or they were going to meet Cane Ridge in the semis.
Right. So, October the 5th at White Station. That'd be a good game to take in if you're up in that area. Blackman Blaze, Lee, we've got them at number 6. Probably with the talent, given the talent, I think most people, including our buddy Donovan Stewart, got them higher. And, you know, we should have had them higher, but in all honesty, Kid Hartsfield, we don't know how the kids are going to respond to him. David Watson's out, new head coach. They do have a ton of talent there, but anytime you got a first-year head coach, you don't know how the coaching squad and you don't know how the players are going to respond to that new leadership.
Yeah, one kid that we failed to mention in our segment on that Region 3 6A that's a really good player for Blackman is Connor Murphy. Last year, I remember several games, man, we were over there. He was all over the field.
All right.
So give some props out to Connor Murphy. Of course, obviously, the biggest ball game for Blackman is that September 21st at Oakland.
Right, and that will probably decide that title. Definitely the two favorite teams in that region.
Favorites.
Right. Lee at number 5, we've got Ravenwood, the Raptors. Matt Daniels now 10-3 in his first year, replacing Will Hester there at Ravenwood. Really impressed with the job he's done so far. He's got a lot of talent. He's got a junior quarterback, Garcia, leading the squad. I like the Raptors at number 5.
I do too, because they played Cane Ridge tight in that quarterfinal game last year. And so big matchup 17th of August. Is that opening week of Centennial.
And the reason? That was the only region loss last year.
Yep.
And, of course, Garcia didn't get to start, so I'm sure that that's going to be weighing heavy on him. The fact that he was overlooked as a starter in that game, so he's probably going to come up big in that game. I don't think I would want to be on that Centennial sideline, because if they can open it up, they're going to open it up, I think in that opener on August 17th. Cane Ridge, the Ravens, Eddie Wood squad, maybe a little low here, Lee. I got them at 4, but again, maybe a little low. I'm kind of rethinking that a little bit after seeing them over at Oakland, going toe-to-toe with Oakland and look really good. I already had this top 10 laid out prior to that, but I'm kind of wondering if I got that one right.
Well, I can tell you our top 4 teams, any one of them
flip a coin,
could be one.
Yep.
Any one of them could be the number 1. What I do love, we talked about it, what I love about Cane Ridge is Devon Starling. I think he's a difference maker.
Yeah, I agree. And you've got Corey Andrews, a senior quarterback too, Lee. Let's not undervalue that, having a senior quarterback that led a team to a state title. That's always a good thing. He looked good in scrimmage the other day. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes. He's not going to beat you making mistakes. He got better at that early in the year. If you'll remember, Lee, threw a lot of interceptions and that was one reason why the only loss they had during the regular season was Brentwood the second week of the season.
Right.
That'll be a big game this year. I think that kind of got Coach Woods, he wanted that undefeated regular season. Brentwood knocks them off August 24th, and part of that was because Corey Andrews did not have a very good game. He'll be fired up for that one.
And that game's at Brentwood.
That might be one we look at, Lee, if we don't head up to Maryville that week. Maryville is our number 3 team, and Maryville, I don't think I've had Maryville as far down as 3 in many, many years. And, the indecision as to who's going to be the quarterback is the main reason for that, Lee. I don't know who's going to start, and they've only got 3 starters back on offense, so they've got to put a lot of new faces in there, and we've got them at number 3 this year.
I tell you what, the Maryville-Alcoa rivalry, Maryville's predominantly has dominated that series.
Right.
But I think this year with that quarterback indecision, who's going to be the quarterback, I'm anxious to see this Alcoa game on September the 7th.
Well, I mean, that's a 3A versus a 6A, but if you ask any Rebel fan, if there's one game they want to definitely win every year, that's the one. That's a huge rivalry game. And I agree with you. I think Coach Rankin's squad may have a good shot at finally knocking Maryville off this year. It'll be interesting.
Well, we'll know a lot about both clubs after that.
Yeah, Alcoa has to travel to Maryville. They've got that on their side, but who knows? That game's definitely going to be a lot closer this year, I think, than it's been in the past. Lee, that leads us to number 2, and at number 2 we've got our buddy Rodney Salisbury's Whitehaven Tigers. Eat up with talent. Now, only 5 starters back on offense, 6 on defense, but they've got some transfers that have come in that are going to really make an impact for that squad this year.
I definitely could see them, in Cookeville.
I'm not staying at the same hotel they're at, by the way. I'm just going to tell you. Them cats know how to party when they win a title.
That's right. But I tell you,
I didn't get any sleep that night the last time they won.
You know what? Speaking of that, you talking about them not only having 5 and 6 returners. We stood down there on the field, and they had 75 athletes that looked like Under Armour commercials. So, yes, they could be there.
They could be there, no doubt, Lee. Which leads us to the Friday main event, number 1, and guaranteed state title winners. You going to go along with that?
Yes.
The Oakland Patriots, Kevin Creasy's squad, 8 starters on offense, 6 on defense, and throw a couple of transfers in there, and you got a loaded team, and you got an extremely well-coached team. I like the Patriots at number 1, Lee.
I tell you what, book it.
Book it.
If Oakland makes it to Cookeville, Coach Creasy is not going to lose again.
No, he got a little conservative, I felt, Lee, and I think you and I talked about that, and that they led the whole game right up to a couple of minutes left in the game.
Remember, it's kind of drizzly.
And they kind of sit on the ball. I don't see that happening again.
He won't do it again.
He's going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at this one.
He will not get conservative. He's going to try to win it by 100 if he can.
Yes, I agree.
So I like him.
So that's it, Lee. That's our Friday main event 6A top 10. We appreciate you guys joining our show and being patient with us as we run over quite a bit. But I think the material's good. If you got to take it in a couple of seatings and do that, that's a good thing about having a YouTube channel. You can hit that pause button. You can come back tomorrow and watch the rest of it. But Lee and I would like to talk football. There ain't a whole lot we can do about that, is it, Lee?
No, sir.
Mike Molder, Lee Teat, this is the Friday main event. You guys need to subscribe to the channel. We'll be coming to you live every Friday on location at a different ball field, a different stadium. Lee, we're going to go to East Tennessee a couple of times. We may even stroll over to West Tennessee. We've got some invitations to head over that way. So you never know where we're going to be at. Go to FridayMainEvent.com. Check our website. We'll have our location there each week. Subscribe. That way you get the live stream. We'll guarantee we'll have at least 4 top quality coaches on each week, interviewing them, talking about their programs. Probably your program we'll have their head coach on at some point in time this season. But we're really excited, fired up about it.
I'm ready for football.
Ready for football.
And some cool weather, though.
And some cool weather. It's hot out there.
It's hot.
All right, Lee. Well, we're going to go ahead and sign out right here again. Subscribe to CoachT.com. Become a Plus member. We appreciate Coach T. Friday Main Event, Mike Molder, and Lee Teat. We'll see you guys next week.